Good evening and welcome. My name is Michelle Jutrissa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up here in New South Wales, Australia. So I'd like to welcome you tonight. Please jump on, say hello, let us know where you're from. It's always great having new people joining us here, and it's always great knowing where you're visiting from. If you like my live tonight and you're on YouTube, please like my channel. Give it a thumbs up and share if possible. So I don't know if you've been following me over the last couple of weeks, but I have been playing a lot with this particular designer series paper. This is a Frames and Flowers specialty designer series paper, and I don't have much of this left. I've got a little bit of the die cuts that are left, but mainly the wreaths, a couple of these pieces here. But really, I've only got just scraps of these left over because I've been doing a lot of scrapbook pages with them. I did make one card when I first got this, but I thought I haven't made any cards with it. I've got, as I said, some left over. I've got enough to put some cards together using some of the wreaths and using one of these elements here as well. Now, these three here are die cut pieces, so they can be broken up, and I'll just grab mine so I can show you. Split up, and I just pop them all into one of these sleeves, which comes with the dies when I get a set of dies that I transfer the dies in with the stamp sets that they belong with. So I have a lot of these left over, so I use them for storing little bits and pieces like this. So this is basically what I've got left over from all the die cuts. And this is what I've got left over in these beautiful papers. So really just enough to do a couple of cards, but and maybe a little bit. I've got maybe one more page of scrapbooking that I may use some of this on, but there's probably going to be pocket pages. So I thought we'd make some cards. Now I've got some bits and pieces all pulled out, so I'm ready to create with. So I'm going to pop all these back in here so they're all together, and I know that they're going to get used. This piece here is this center strip here. It's one piece, and I'm going to use a bit of that on my card today. So I'm going to show you how you can use that piece besides using it on a scrapbook page. So let me get rid of my catalogue. And let's get started. Whoops, there we go. That's where it goes. Okay, so I'm going to create two cards tonight. Usually I only do one, but I thought I'm so organized, we're going to do two. So this is the first card we're going to do. And what I've got here is all my little bits and pieces, and I've got all my measurements and everything for you. I will try to put this up on my blog. So you can find the measurements and everything that I've used there. So I've got a standard card base here, which is half a sheet of A4 cardstock. Now, if you are in a country that uses the letter size, again, you just take it to half a sheet of letter size. Hi, Joan. How are you? Thank you for joining. So my card base, it's a 10-fold card. It's 10.5 by 29.9, and I've scored that at 14.9. So that's my card base there. I'm going to do a mat, and my mat is in, now I have written it down, what colour. Sometimes I sort of tend to forget these colours a little bit, especially if I've had a busy day, so sorry about that. It's in Petal Pink, should remember that. So I've got a piece of Petal Pink, and this is the die cut that I'm going to be using. Now, these die cuts are made for the letter size paper, not necessarily for our A4 cardstock. So I've cut a mat, and the this piece here is actually 3 and 3/4 inches by 5 inches. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of Petal Pink at 4 by 5 1/4. So it's just a little bit And so I'm not going to have it. Usually I like to have everything even all the way around. I am going to have a bigger gap top and bottom. And it'll just fit nicely in the center there. But we're going to do a little bit of work on this. I've then got that strip that I was showing you before, which I've cut down, and I'm going to be using that on the insert of my mat. So I've left it the same width, and at the moment I've cut it at 14.4. I've got two pieces for my insert. So I've got a piece of petal pink, which is going to be a mat for my basic white, which is going to go on the inside of my card for writing on. So that's all the products we're going to be using for this. Now, I'm going to be stamping in Pretty Peacock, which is the same colour as our base. So what I'm going to do first off, I'm going to emboss this piece here. But before I emboss it, I want to put my sentiment on there. So I've chosen a sentiment. Now the sentiments I'm using are from, because this particular designer series paper doesn't have coordinating sentiments or anything. There is sentiments in there, well, any of the sentiments in there you can use on it. There are sentiments on the opposite page or on the same page as the designer series paper in the catalogue, but they don't necessarily belong with that particular paper as far as I'm concerned. So what I've done is I've gone through all my stamp sets, and I found this one, Everyday Greetings, and I really love this because I love the font. It's got a really nice script font, but it's also got a contrasting font in a font that's very sort of straight up and down, basically. So, and I love how you can combine both the two fonts together and really get lovely effects. So for this card, I'm actually going to use this particular sentiment here. Where there is heartache, there will be healing. So I just thought it's just a very interesting sentiment to put upon your card, because then if anyone you know is going through a tough time, it's a really good one to use on that. So what I'm going to do, because I want to be able to have my font peeking through this piece here, I'm just going to lay that on top. I'm not gluing it down or anything because I want to do some embossing on my mat, but I'm going to stamp directly in the inside. So I'm using that piece as a guide to help me work out where I'm going to stamp sentiment. So making sure that my stamp is well inked. I'm just going to stamp it off just to see, yep, it's good. I think my ink pad might need a little bit of TLC. And I'm just going to hold that in place, and I want to stamp that roughly in the middle. So I'm just making sure I've got everything lined up and nice and straight. I think about there. So I'm just going to hold that down for a couple of seconds just to let that ink absorb into my cardstock and lift it off, and that's beautiful. I'm very happy with that. So we'll close it up. Hi Deb, how are you? Thank you for joining us tonight. So I'm just going to take this piece and pop that to one side, and the embossing folder that I am going to use, which is just sitting around here, is with a set of embossing folders that you will find in the online exclusives, and that's part of the Basics 3D embossing folders. So you won't find this particular one in the catalogue, but you will find it in our online exclusives. So check out those online exclusives. Every couple of months they add products in there, and they're there while stocks last, unless they decided to order more. So it's a good place to look for some up-and-coming stuff. Now I'm just grabbing my embossing folders, and I want this one here, and I want to remove. So I've got plate 1 and plate 4, and I'm just going to pop that in there, pop plate 4 over the top, and just run this through. All that clanking and everything is all okay. Don't worry about it. It's all meant to happen. Just going to pop my machine over there because we will be doing some more embossing in a little while. And pop that out. So I hope you all are having a lovely day. So the folder I'm using has got that lovely, I call it like a crosshatch. Just gives you a nice bit of texture to this paper. Okay, so let's bring our card back in. It's a very simple card to make. Not too complicated at all, but I think will look very effective. So I'm just going to make sure this is folded nicely and well creased across the top. And then we can adhere this to the front of our card. Just using multi-purpose glue for this, because it does allow me a little bit of slip, so that allows me to position all of this where I want it to be and move it around and get it everything nice and straight. Give that a good press down, just lay it, rub the back of it just to spread that glue, because sometimes this glue can be a little bit globby. And if you don't push it out and spread it out, you'll end up with little lumps. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. And then that is going to go over the top. But I think I'm going to sit this up on a few dimensionals. So I'm just going to pop some of these dimensionals around the outside edge. Pop another one there so we don't get any little bit of sagging happening. Nothing worse than a card that sags that little bit in the middle. And actually, I might just pop another one there and another one up there. You can never have too many dimensionals. Now this one here is going to sit. I just want to very lightly touch it down so I get this in the position I want. I might work from this sideways. Sometimes I find it easier to get the longer lengths in the right position before I do my sides, my shorter lengths, I should say. I think I'm happy with that. So there's that card. As I said, it's just a very simple card. And then we're going to add our card insert. So I'm going to pop my writing sheet down on top of my mat. So my mat here is 10 centimetres wide by 14.4, and then the basic white piece on top is 9.7 by 14.1, and it just gives me that little bit of an edge around the outside or pop of colour. Again, just give that a good rub on the back, just make sure that glue is pressed around. And then this piece here, I'm going to just adhere it to one side. It's really up to you. I usually put things on this side, but this time I'm going to do it on that side, and it's going to go to edge. So I've cut this. I left it the same width, and I've cut it at that 14.4. So that is going to go the full length of that. Just hold it in place for a little bit while that glue starts to set. Once you've done that, you can pop that on the inside of your card. Now, I've really enjoyed playing with this particular range of papers. Fell in love with it when they first brought it out, and I thought, oh, I'm going to enjoy playing in this. And it's been a lot of fun. So there's the inside of my card. Let me just get that glue out of the road. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of bling to this. Now, I'm just having a look. There is these ones here. And there are colours on here which work very well. I'll grab my Take a Pic tool. Hello, Jennifer. How are you? And I'm just going to pop maybe 1, 2, 3, just one lot just there of that particular one. I'll keep that to one side because we might use them again. So there you are. There's my first card. So I hope you can see that okay. I'm using up that paper. What does the sentiment say? The sentiment says, where there is heartache, let there be healing. So I just thought it was just sometimes you have that odd friend that not necessarily a sympathy card, but it's going through a rough time. So just want to, let them know that you're thinking of them. It's just, I thought that was just a really nice sentiment. Okay, so let's do another one since I've got 2 cards for tonight. Okay then, so this is our next one. Again, I've got all my bits and pieces here, and I've got, let me just pop that onto there so I don't poke myself with it. So this is going to be a square card, and I've based this, I've actually still got some square envelopes that Stampin' Up had quite a long time ago. Your husband, Mike, just said he has a lot of odd friends. Okay. Not quite sure what you mean there, Jennifer. Is that meaning he's a bit odd too? He's odd himself. Don't worry, I got my fair share of odd friends, and they'd probably say I'm pretty odd too at times. But anyway, this is a square envelope that Stampin' Up brought out a long time ago, and I've still got a few of them left. But you should be able to pick up envelopes, square envelopes at different sizes. This one here measures 14 centimetres square. So what I've done is I've cut a card base, which is a centimetre smaller. So I've made mine 13 centimetres by 26, and I've scored it at 13. Okay, so I've got a nice square card there. So I'm just going to fold that and burnish the sides of that just to make sure it's nice and crisp. Oops. I do like square cards because they're that little bit different to other cards. So there you go. So then I have got all these little bits and pieces here. So I'm going to use this particular die cut, a nice wreath on this card, and I'm going to pop lots of layers. Well, not real lots, but I've got 2 layers going in underneath it. So what I've got here, again, I've got my card insert, which I'm using a piece of basic white at 10.5 by 10.5, and I'm matting that again with the petal pink, and that's cut at 11 by 11. I've then got a piece of designer series paper, and I've cut that at 12 by 12 because I really thought that that designer series paper looked really good with that, but you can't put the two together because you just never see the wreath part. So I'm going to pop the wreath onto another piece of petal pink, which is 10.5 by 10.5. And then we're going to pop a sentiment on top. So again, a simple card, but just with a few extra layers and using some designer series paper as a mat. So the first thing I want to do is grab this piece of petal pink, and again we're going to emboss that. So I'm going to use the same embossing folder. Could change it out if you wanted to, but I'm using the same one. And I'm just going to slip that on the inside of there. Because this probably is one of my favourite embossing folders because it isn't overly, like, it's just a nice all-rounder. You can use it on a mail card, you can use it on a floral card, you could use it in on a kid's card. It's just a really good all-round embossing folder. Okay, so that's that one done. So pop that over there. Must have a bit of dirt or dust or something on that. That is interesting. I don't think you're going to notice. It's got like a little bit of flecks of green. Must be on the embossing folder because it's the only place it would have been. Oh, you know what it's from? It's the ink, because when I did the other card, I stamped it first and then did that. So it's left some of the ink. The ink probably wasn't quite dry, and it's left some of the ink in there. I might, okay. I'm going to have to think about this, what I can do. I think I'm going to keep making, because I don't think you're actually going to notice it, because by the time I put a sentiment where I want to put it, you probably won't notice that. But that's a good thing to know. Make sure you clean your embossing folder before you go to do some other work on it if you've used it with ink. So what we're going to do is I'm going to adhere this piece down onto that, and I'm just going to do that with glue. You know what I might do? I'm going to use the reverse, because that can look quite nice as well. So I'm going to put the glue on this side of it. And use the reverse of it. No need to throw anything away. So just position that where I want that to go. Then let's grab our card base, make sure we've got it opening the way we want it to go, and then that can be glued directly onto that. Okay, just give that a really good rub. Make sure that glue is nice and spread out and everything is stuck down. Let's pop that glue lid on there for the moment. Okay, so there's our card and our card base, and as I said, I've just flipped that over and used the other side because the ink is not on there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pop some dimensionals onto our wreath, and that can then go onto our card front. So just popping, probably going to put one in between each one because I just want that to sit nicely on that. So has anyone been doing anything exciting over the weekend? Or got something planned exciting for later on this week? Okay then, so let's just position this. Straight in there. And then I have my card insert and it's matte. So my card insert is 10.5 by 10.5 and the matte is 11 by 11. So we're just going to adhere those two together. So who on here does a bit of scrapbooking? We were told to stay indoors for most of Saturday. There was a siege in the next street and he was armed, so not the excitement you need. No, Jennifer, that wouldn't be the excitement you'd need. It'd be the excitement you'd want to stay away from. So I hope that didn't keep you inside for too long. I hope they got that sorted pretty quickly. I don't watch the news, so I didn't hear anything about anything happening. So there we go. There's our insert. So we'll pop that on the inside of our card. It was all over by about 2:30. Oh, well, that's... At least you could sit home and do some stamping. You've got a good, good reason for staying home. You've been playing with the Filled with Cheer stamp set. Okay, yep. Having lots of fun with it. Creating lots of wonderful projects. Well, I spent my Saturday was scrapbooking and did a scrapbook layout, which I was really pleased about because I used these particular papers and it was a layout I had planned. My sister came out in April, as some of you may remember, from England, and I had the paper, or I'd seen the paper, I think, at that stage, and I knew that was the paper I wanted to use. So I was just hoping that whatever photos my husband took would go with it. So I was really pleased to at last get them together. Oh, that's good. Look forward to seeing them, Deb. Okay. So there's our card. Now we need a sentiment on here. So again, using the everyday greetings, I've decided to use Thinking of You for this particular one. So I just think this is such a nice, soft palette of colours. It's conducive to, what would you say, peacefulness, I think, whether that's the correct word or not. But, yeah, it sort of gives me a lot of peace, these colours. It's the greens. Blue is my favourite colour, and greens come a close behind, particularly the greens that have got that tealy blue colourway to it. So a lot of these colours are really getting into my colours. But anyway, I'm using pretty Flirty Flamingo ink for this. And I'm just going to stamp my sentiment right there. Just hold it there for a moment. Let that ink adhere. and I'll pop that over there also to clean later on. And let's just close this up so I don't pop something in it. Where do I live? I live in the Southern Highlands, about an hour and a half out of Sydney, sort of in between Sydney and Canberra, so an hour and a half in either way. It's quite a nice area. But it's starting to grow and probably grow a little bit bigger than what we're really, like everywhere, they developments have to happen, and a lot of people, whoops, didn't clean my plate after the last time I used it. A lot of developers are moving in and building lots and lots of houses all around us, so I would love to convince my husband to move down to the coast. Anyway, I'm using a die from the Stylish Shapes. Yep, Stylish Shapes dies. So it's one of the flagged end dies with the stitching around it. Hello, Jean. How are you? So we'll pop that through. So there's our sentiment. It's quite a wide sentiment. So again, because this is square, I've got to double check and make sure I've got this going the right way. And I was thinking of just popping that right across there. Now, this is some twine that comes from the Baker's Twine 3-color pack. Okay, it was in the last mini catalogue, I think. That's where it was started from. It's now in the annual catalogue on the same page as these designer series paper. Now, this is a Calypso Coral. I haven't got Calypso Coral in this, but it still does tone quite well with this. So what I thought I would do is do a large bow, and I'm going to put that underneath the sentiment. So I'm just going to see if I can tie quite a big bow here. Whoops. And I think that's probably about the size I want. And I'm just going to place a glue dot Don't like touching the glue dots with my fingers because I'm always concerned that oils and stuff from my hands will transfer. And I want that probably onto the glue dot so then it won't stick. So, and I want that probably around about there. Whoops, it's just gotten caught on the back of that. So I've got my glue dot down there and I'm just going to push that down. Yeah, glue dots always concern me that if you get too much of your finger, the oils from your fingers on there, you'll lose some of that stickiness. So I tend to like to use my take a pick tool. So now I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on there. I'm just going to see whether I can fit one in the middle. And I want that sort of, I think I can. I might just pop it just a little bit off center. And that's going to go just about there. I'm going to pop another one just underneath here because it's sinking a little bit there. I think because I've actually got, yeah, I'm going to just realize why it's sinking, because I've got dimensionals on the wreath itself, and I should double this dimensional in the middle because it's got double the height. So that should improve it. I just bent my tag a little bit there. That's okay. That'll look good. Okay, so let's add a little bit of bling to this. And this time I might add one there. Add another one there. And maybe another one just up here, I think. So I've got my 3 on there. These 2 are fairly close, but I've formed that triangle around there, and that will work quite well. So they're all similar shades. So there you go. 2 cards made today. So let me just move all of my post-it notes out of the road. Using this beautiful paper. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. Now, if you are interested in purchasing this, of course, you can go to my shop online store at michelledutrissa.stampinup.net, and you will find those products there. I will try to get this onto my blog over the next few days, and I'll have all the measurements and everything that I used there. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's always wonderful having everybody on here and having a chat. Hope you all have a great week. And if you can join me on Friday, I'd love you to join me then. So bye for now and have a lovely evening. Bye.